Right, Ashwin, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Good, good. No, it's great to have you on, and yeah, I just kind of thought I'd introduce you to kind of start off by saying that you're the host of New Hollywood podcast. It was in top 100 Apple podcasts a couple of years ago, and then you was top 20 Nasdaq podcast as well, and you're the what do you call it? You mentioned it previously, New Hollywood,
I'm the
and
I'm the head of entertainment and strategy for New Hollywood.
yeah, and you're a life enthusiast as well. And you've done like speaking events and lots of different things, and you've got like a big kind of like experience in entertainment and many areas and entrepreneurship. How did you kind of like get into that?
So basically, I always wanted to be in entertainment. I always wanted to be at these high levels in business. And my parents were first generation immigrants, so they immigrated to America from India, and it wasn't realistic. They worked very regular jobs. My dad works in a bank. My mom works at a manufacturing company, and it wasn't realistic to a lot of people around me. And for me, I just connected with that person on that screen on TV when I watched it, and the voice on the radio, and I just wanted to be a part of it. And the closest thing I could get to entertainment in the traditional sense was I got into nightlife. And I started off my career as a nightclub promoter in Florence, Italy. So I moved to Italy, became a nightclub promoter, and I met somebody while I was passing out flyers on the streets of Florence that worked for Playboy that gave me the opportunity to start promoting parties at the Playboy Mansion. And that's really like the starting point of how I was able to get my foot in the door and get noticed in the entertainment world.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, isn't it? Like, just stepping out your comfort zone and, like going into these scenarios and just taking that leap. And sometimes, like that fate of meeting, one person who can then just open up that door for you to, then open up another door for you. And, what an experience to be a part of that as well. And like I saw as well that you've worked for like, is it like Maxim, 20th Century Fox, and you also like set up a company with your friends. Is it called Prolific?
Yep, Prolific. Prolific was my first management company out of Boston. We casted the a lot of the pretty girl roles and some of the like smaller speaking roles for a lot of the movies that filmed in New England. And with Maxim, I actually found a model that was modeling on like racetracks, local promotional events in like New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And we ended up having her in physical Maxim magazine back in 2012,
Wow.
2013, which is, just a great accomplishment because at that point I was still very young. I was still living in New England. I was balancing a regular job and running my entertainment company on the side because like it wasn't stable. And around 2014, 2015, it pretty much became my main job. And at that point, there was no looking back. Like I'm going full force into this entertainment thing. And
Mm,
I just pioneered new ways. Like I dealt with a lot of rejection. I still deal with a lot of rejection because I'm trying to do new things.
mm,
Especially with what I'm doing now is I've went from representing some of the most famous people in the world
mm,
to being like, hey, I want to put myself on screen for other people that look like me because I didn't like myself growing up. I was told I was less than, and I really want to make people that look like me, that come from
mm,
families like mine, feel better
mm,
about who they are and how they're
mm.
portrayed in media.
Yeah. No, I really respect that, and I think like it's sometimes like in life you can get told that you're less than, or you're a certain way, or you're not good enough, and it's like like you said, you're not letting that stop you from achieving success and doing well in life. And I think it's that that triumph over adversity, kind of starting out from nothing and building your way up, and if you really believe in something, actually acting on that and following that through.
Well, I mean, I'm actually recording a session later today, and the thing I'm recording about is who is your worst enemy? When people say negative things to you, a lot of people say they let it roll off them. But the truth is, as much as even I don't want to admit it, that affects me. It sticks with me for a while. And then
Mm.
what ends up happening is the mean things that other people have told you about yourself. You tell yourself even meaner things.
Yeah.
And that's just human psychology. And it's learning to reprogram yourself from saying, hey, this person says I'm not good enough. I have no shot of that. And then you tell yourself, yeah, I definitely have no shot. I'm actually even worse than they think I am. And if they think that, then everyone knows that. But
Mm.
when you hear that, you're like, okay, cool. That person is entitled to that opinion, but that's probably due to a lack of insecurity in themselves because most people are
Yeah.
projecting their own issues out to other people in the other world. And being angry at them or harboring resentment towards them is a punishment you're giving yourself. And you don't deserve that punishment. You didn't do anything wrong.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, a lot of people sometimes they might feel like they're not good at something. So when someone else is doing something, they want to tell them that they're not good at it because it's their like insecurity and they're kind of, they're being triggered by their own crap because someone's showing them, them up from, the inside kind of thing.
Well, it's also a lot of people want to be viewed as one thing. So, like, I am someone that's notable in business. I've had some solid business accomplishments, but on my Instagram, I will still post myself doing yoga poses or putting on a
Yeah.
face mask because those are things that I enjoy doing. And like
Yeah.
half of what I post on social and half the content I think brands should be posting is stuff that makes themselves laugh, stuff that makes them feel
Mm.
lighthearted, so that people know that they don't take themselves too seriously because it's the play aspect of life that most people live their life looking forward to.
Mm. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And I think that's a really good point. And like a lot of people sometimes are trying to appear to be a certain way. And like, we was talking earlier before we recorded, being vulnerable and that's okay to be vulnerable and it makes you open and like more interesting because we said like, some people do the things by a certain script all the time. And, being vulnerable and being able to go to those places and having, open conversations, and I think is a massive strength.
Well, a lot of people spend their whole life catering to being around the people that are going to support their viewpoint or agreeing with them. I am always around different groups of people to get different opinions because at the end of the day, I don't think my opinion is right or wrong. I think I have a
Mm.
hypothesis that can get tested. And at the end of the day, the market guarantees the result. So in Hollywood, when I moved out here and I didn't know people, I liked a lot of these things between technology, fashion, traditional film and TV, the influencer world. And I started doing these parties called the New Hollywood parties, where we would take kids on the Forbes 30 under 30 list. We would bring entrepreneurs that are known for these big businesses, children of movie stars, up and coming Disney stars, influencers with millions of followers on every platform, and supermodels, and put all these people in a room. And like every person had to individually get approved. So it didn't matter if you were famous. You had to
Yeah.
know me and I had to know who you were bringing to get into the store. And I rejected people that were famous or that had clout or had these big accomplishments because they didn't fit the criteria, the people I wanted in this room. And it was really beautiful to watch, like a model talk to somebody on Forbes under 30 and give them critical feedback on their idea, or the opposite, where the guy on Forbes 30 under 30 is helping that influencer to learn how to build, a traditional business, and that influencer is teaching them how to have better social media content for their businesses. And I think
Mm.
if you separate the ego and you just connect at that human level, so many beautiful things can happen in your life, the life of others. And like once you get comfortable doing that on social media, your social media starts to explode
Mm.
because that's a big part of what I work with brands on or people is consulting them on what content they post, testing that piece of content, and then leveraging, growth hacking maneuvers and marketing techniques to push that to a larger audience. I can provide a
Mm.
lot of gas. It's just like, you have an engine to a car.
Yeah.
What we're doing on the strategy side, we're improving your engine. We're making the body faster. We're making it sleeker. We're making it perform a little bit higher. And what I do is as you continue to improve your engine, I keep pouring in a little bit more gas. And the more gas we get, the more accelerant we have for when that engine's hitting her the right way. And you do get those exponential results. And it's a really beautiful thing to be a part of, working
Mm.
with people when it's a small brand to working with them when they are a much larger brand. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I think that's the rewarding thing about what you do as well. You've seen people grow and develop and being able to, grow their confidence and be more open to, learning about, themselves and other people. And I think what you mentioned is key is that it doesn't matter about, like the fame and all, the accolades that people have got. It's being able to connect with that person on a human level. And then it's like,
100%. It's so key to connect at that very, very human level. Most people
mm,
don't. They connect at the most superficial level of what can you do for me today? Can I get on your podcast today? No. Well, fuck you. You're a horrible person. That's literally where most people take it. Whereas, like, your podcast might have a niche. My podcast is a very, very specific niche. It's called New
mm,
Hollywood. I interview people in the entertainment niche. So if you're an entrepreneur and you have a massive business that's doing tens of millions of dollars, that's amazing. I'd love to connect with you as a human. but you are not the right fit for my podcast. And I would tell some people this, and it'd be this whole thing about like, this guy has a huge ego. I can't believe he doesn't want me on his podcast. And I'm like, dude, like, it's just like, I know what my audience is looking for. They're looking for
Yeah.
that entertainer. They're looking for that name that they recognize. If you're
Mm.
just a guy that has this story, it's not going to be interesting to them because it's
Mm.
very niche. It's knowing what your niche is.
Yeah. That's it. And I think something that if you find that niche or niche, you have to stand by that. And would you say that kind of comes into your brand and how like branding's important as well?
I think
And
that
like
comes
you as
into
a
individual
person?
brands. I don't think it comes
Yeah.
into my individual brand. I think that for
Yeah.
me was like, for example, with that example, that is intrinsic to what New Hollywood, the podcast is. Could that
Yeah.
person be a client of New Hollywood, the company? 100%. We could help
Mm.
them grow social media presence, come up with better content, help them shoot better content. All sorts of cool things we could have done together on that standpoint, or even on the strategy standpoint. But it did not make sense for that podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's different for me as a person because there's a lot of people that I don't need to do business with that I like having human relationships with because I
Yeah.
don't view it as who you are today. Who you are
Mm.
today does not define who you are tomorrow, next year, or 5 years from now. You
Mm.
could go from this podcast that you're shooting out of your house with your dog in the room
Yeah.
to having a like television show in the UK or, being the
Yeah.
next big YouTuber or the next big Viner or, the next Deepak Chopra. And
Yeah.
that is the beautiful part about life. And if you treat everyone on the journey well, especially at
Yeah.
the beginning of their career, they're going to treat you so much better because you took that example of that guy that gave me a favor when I was in Florence, Italy and helped me get to Los Angeles. That
Mm.
is someone I still respect, care about, and will do anything I can because they gave me a shot when no one
Mm.
else would. So that's
Mm.
my favorite part of every day or any business encounter. It's not
Mm.
about the big deal that I close that covers my bills for the next couple months or maybe even the
Mm.
year. It's about helping that one or two people that I see
Mm.
that glimpse of like that dream that I had
Mm.
get just in the door with something basic. It's not going to be the best job in the world. It might not be life changing, but for a
Yeah.
lot of people, that is their gateway into what they want to be doing. And they figure out if they want to do it or not. And like watching those relationships flourish and watching someone develop is such a beautiful thing. And I have a couple of people that I've been fortunate to have been able to go to for help in a couple of these situations or go to for advice. And I think that's a really awesome part about life is if you can
Mm.
humble yourself to ask for that advice,
Mm.
you're going to find a couple of people that will give you solid human advice.
Yeah. No, I really love that, and I think it's so true, isn't it? And I think it's you just don't know where things are going to lead, and being humble enough as a person, connecting with people, and providing that value, and making those genuine relationships with those people, and it's about like I like to think what you give out comes back to you, and I think I see it like, with some people I've met through podcasting, I've networked with some other people, and I see the similarities, or I think, oh, that person's good on their show, and I recommend them to people, and then they go and do, they then go and do a podcast or something like that, and it's nice to be able to give that value. It makes me happy, and I see them create something. I think that's what we should all do as people, as you mentioned. You kind of think back to yourself as you see yourself in other people and being able to help them in some way sometimes and provide value. And I think it's priceless, isn't it? When you think about what we can do as people and having that positive impact.
I mean, it's huge. Like for me, like entertainment was not the most profitable business in the world, but it gives you massive amounts of influence.
Mm.
So like everything I did was done with the intention of creating great art, creating great concepts, creating great content. But now as like, an adult and someone that's really fully like kind of flushed out, what I'm trying to do now is build brands around like the concept of something that makes me happy. So like two of the projects that I'm working on is there's a course that's probably coming out at the end of March around my birthday.
Yeah. Mm.
It's called the Star-Studded Network Program. And what I'm
Yeah.
doing is I'm teaching people how to do what I did, which is how
Mm.
to build relationships with zero real budget. Like I had $500 to my name when I started off, a leaking air mattress, and I moved to Los Angeles and I didn't know anybody. And I want to teach people how to build relationships, but also how to stay a good person when things go bad, how to get
Mm.
over that bad feeling internally through like meditation, breath work, whatever it is. that helps you cope with that trauma and put out more good into the world, even when bad things happen to
Mm.
you. And that's something that really excites me, is doing that. Uh,
Yeah.
and then in addition to that course, I am working with some partners in the consumer space, and we're creating a chakra healing bracelet brand, because I wear chakra healing bracelets all the time and people would ask me about it. And I'm like, you know what? Instead of like just referring people to all these random sources and these people that I go and see for these like great stones, how about I figure out a process to start making them myself, share this information because I enjoy sharing this sort of thing. And even if you don't believe in the power of chakra healing bracelets, I
Mm.
can give it to you with the intention that I want your podcast to succeed. This morganite stone, it's for the throat chakra, and I wish you the best of luck, success with what you're
Yeah.
speaking on. Uh, Even if you don't believe in the power of that stone,
Mm.
that positive intention subconsciously is going to click with your brain every time you look at it, because you're going
Mm.
to have read that note, and that's going to stick with you at some level, and that's going to help you in a small amount. It's not going to change your life overnight because you have this bracelet and this reminder, but progressively over time, that voice
Mm.
becomes something that repeats over your head. So both the positive and the negative things that people say
Mm.
instigate. And if you encourage people or give them an opportunity to do something good, and it doesn't cost them much, it doesn't hurt them, I think a lot of people would do that for their friends.
Yeah, that's it. And I think people really, you know, are into, energy and, chakras and crystals. Like I myself are like, crystals, and I have my friend who made like a bracelet thing for me, which has got like it's a tiger eye, something like that. And I
Yep,
think
those are good for
it,
your lower three chakras.
yeah, it's awesome. And I think like there's so much value to be taken from them, and I think they definitely do work. And I think even if someone doesn't think they work, then through your belief of it working, it will. And I think it's powerful how energy works, and how we're all kind of connected, and the things that we're capable of, and doing something, creating it, and then being able to teach other people how to do it, and seeing them make kind of magic through it as well.
It's beautiful, dude. It's such a beautiful thing. It's like when I first got into, meditation, breath work, and all of this stuff, I thought it was fake. I'll be straight up honest with you guys. I thought it was fake. And once I started experiencing how I personally felt after doing it, as someone that didn't believe in a lot of this stuff, I started sharing it and I started coaching people on like aspects of it, because we have so much power once we focus our brain and once we
Mm,
rewire how we talk to ourselves. And
mm,
making it part of my mission, what I do with the voice and the following that I've built, is such an awesome thing I get to share with other people, because I meet people that are like, hey, I tried this breathing technique that you taught me, and that's
mm.
improved the quality of my life. And
Yeah,
that is the best thing you can do for another human. That's our purpose on this
yeah.
earth, is to
Mm,
make life a little bit better where we can.
mm. No, I really like that, and I think it's so true, isn't it? And I think, like, especially, I think with COVID now and the whole kind of situation that the world's kind of been in, I think people need it. People need it, and people kind of, I think, need to be more. They're needing to be more grounded, because a lot of things are happening, or have been happening, and everyone's in different scenarios. But I think ultimately, through your breath work and energy, and that self care for yourself and looking after yourself and being able to help others, it's definitely key right now. And I was thinking, like you mentioned, with you had like $500 in your account, you're sleeping on a mattress, and I think, would you say being in those kind of situations in your life where you've not had so much, it gives you that kind of like groundness and humbleness, and that kind of like drive to succeed and be something, because I think it's like that
Well,
journey, isn't it?
when it's failure is your only option, you're not afraid of failure anymore.
Mm,
That's all I knew. All I knew was rejection and failure. And still to this day, I've had a lot of big accomplishments. When I go into something, a small part of me still goes in with that feeling that like everything is going to get taken away. This isn't my life. My life is that guy that moved here with $500 in the air mattress. And I have a great family, but at the end of the day, I'm always going to get rejected. And that is a
mm,
part of me that is still there to this day. I do my best to overcome
mm,
that. And I coach a lot of people on getting over it for themselves. But there's a small part within yourself that is always going to have that limiting belief And the
Mm.
best thing that you can do is make that limiting voice quieter and more distant. And like, it gave me this sense of, if this is my dream and this is my shot to go after, regardless that I don't have the best opportunity, I'm going to shoot my shot. And I got
Yeah.
comfortable shooting my shot. And guess what? A couple of those shots landed. And I've
Mm.
been here for, 7+ years, and I've built a beautiful life for myself. I've worked with
Mm.
names that I saw on TV screens. I've worked with Hall of Fame athletes. I've worked with the
Mm.
biggest names on social media. And some of these people are some of my best friends. They're people that I can call if I'm sick, if I'm tired, if I need a favor. And these people are my biggest brand advocates. And I've been able to be a brand advocate for them beyond the
Mm.
business relationship. And I think if you show people that you truly do care,
Mm.
you will build a reputation that is so good. And the world will know that you're that person that will always be there, regardless of what anyone else says.
Mm.
Have that reputation that is so good that if people try and throw dirt on your name, no one can believe that, because your
Yeah.
character and your actions have demonstrated the opposite of it.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think that's it's so important, isn't it? And I think, like with people and people seeing you being genuine as you are and being open and honest and, respecting people for who they are, as you said, as being a person. And, you gather these awesome relationships. And, I think a lot of people in the, entertainment industry and a lot of people who've got like can't even say the word, notoriety,
Mm-hmm.
um, they must feel quite under pressure and try sometimes probably worry who they can trust because they've got a lot of kind of light, if that makes sense, and some people might take advantage of that. Do you think that's the case sometimes, or they
I
kind
think
of
I think
feel
to part
that?
of it is, in some of my personal relationships, I worry that this person is my friend because of who I am, not or what I am, not because of who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for a lot of other people in entertainment. Is like, you do have that seed of doubt. Like, do these people actually like me, or do they like me for the things that I have? And I have that feeling, I'm getting to a point in my life that I want to settle down a little bit more.
Mm.
And in my dating life, that's a consideration that I have. Like, does this person actually like me, or do they like me for my accomplishments, or what I could do for them, or the value
Mm.
that I can bring to their life? Do they actually care about me as the human that I am? And it's
Mm.
one of those things that you have to really be aware of. Is like, there are good people out there that
Yeah.
don't care about what you have. They care about like the quality of the human that you are. But you also have to accept that there are other people that are going to want to be around you for the things that you can do, and you have to be able to identify that and be able to preserve your energy, because you only have so much energy.
Mm. Yeah, that's exactly it. And as you mentioned with energy, like being around the right kind of people and having that right support, is definitely key. And would you say like, sorry, my dog wants. Um, would you say like the energy is like a big thing, and kind of how do you maintain like your energy and all that you're doing? Like any like advice like you
So
can share on that?
yeah, there's a couple of things. So one of the ways to save energy a lot of times is sleeping the proper amount. If you sleep the solid, 6 to 8 hours, your body is fully refreshed. And that's an important part. Even if you're working out, you need to be sleeping an adequate amount. It's the foods that you put into your system. It's very easy if you're angry, you're stressed out, and you're depressed to go to caffeine, junk food, cookies, crackers, candies, which I definitely do on occasion, to be quite
Mm.
honest with you guys. I love like drinking a glass of Coke,
Yeah.
or having, a whole box of Chips Ahoy cookies. But it's limiting those experiences, having, those good organic foods like the spinaches, the kales, fruit smoothies in your diet, to help you stay grounded. And two, like, the very basic thing of like, if there are people that are loved ones, family members, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever you have in your life, uh, hugging them. Human contact is one of the things that makes people feel happier. I did a search the other day. It is recommended for a human to get 8 hugs throughout the day to feel their best. And most of us don't even get one. Don't even get one hug. We need
Mm.
some level of physical contact. I think that is part of the animal part of what we are, is we need
Mm.
some level of intimacy. And it doesn't have to be, and I think that's the misconception for a lot of people, is it has to be sexual intimacy. It could just
Mm.
be a hug, someone holding your hand. I think part of COVID that's really like killing people is we are a communal species. We
Yeah.
need that human interaction. And I think a lot of people are going extremely lonely. And like, even for me, I'm very fortunate that I know how to maintain relationships. And that's part of my course is
Yeah.
maintaining relationships on Zooms, on FaceTime, so that you get to see and you get to, just have
Yeah.
that meaningless conversation with someone to make yourself feel like, hey, there are other people out here. But a
Mm.
lot of people have difficulty with that. They're afraid of making that phone call or what people are going to think of them not feeling okay, and realizing that
Mm.
it's okay to ask for help or ask for company. And that is not weakness. That is human.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really great point, as you mentioned, like with COVID and people needing that connection and that physical connection, and as well as that social and emotional connection to other people is key. And I think it's definitely helped me doing like podcasting and working with people, and staying in touch with my friends, like playing video games with them at the weekend, and all of these little tiny little things. And it's so key as a person, because it's just how we are, isn't it? We like to be connected with other people, um, and there are those kind of barriers sometimes. But like through like Zoom and technology, we can kind of maintain those relationships. But I think it's so important that we have that good relationship with ourselves, ultimately, isn't it? And then you kind of have that good relationship with other people, isn't it?
I think it's so important, dude. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship that you have in this life. That is the person that is never leaving you. Any investment in yourself is an investment that sticks with you for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
the person that we often neglect the most. Is our own
Mm.
body, our own self, our own mind.
Mm. That's it. And I think like sometimes, like as you said, we're human, and we make mistakes, and it's that like when you think to like what you're doing now, and some of the things that happened in the past, it's like it's all kind of building you as a person, isn't it? Like like, and that momentum, and each of these experiences. And that's what I really like respect for what you're doing, is that you've been stepping out of your comfort zone, and there's that like triumph over adversity of you know sticking to what you believe in. And I think a lot of people should do that. I mean, I think if it was easy, then it wouldn't be as fun, as it's all these kind of things in between, and that journey and that process. Like when you think to where you started to where you currently are.
It's being a dreamer, but still a practical person. And
Mm.
it's accepting that life is going to change. Like when Corona hit, the business work that I was doing in the space of events and like live entertainment was massive. But after that hit, it became to going to digital products and like getting into e-commerce and like exploring other avenues and like focusing more on the social media growth and strategy that I used to do for other people. And I think that's the big part about life is it's not about like what your goal is, it's where the universe is guiding you and just
Mm.
maintaining that level of faith. And I think if I wasn't that kid that was rejected, I don't think I would have the wherewithal to handle this level of
Yeah.
rejection or redirection that I have in my life on a constant basis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And like, would you say, like like when rejections happen, and failures and setbacks, it all kind of like builds up like resilience in you as a person. So I think sometimes people kind of go through life, they don't really have many setbacks or rejections, and when one happens, it throws them. Whereas if you've had many, it builds up resilience, and that like helps you in like like business. If it does happen, like you can bounce back and deal with it like much better.
100%. 100% makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's. I think like people are. I'm interested in people, and I think there's so much potential that we have within us, isn't it, to become whatever we set our minds to. And I was like thinking, like, do you have any kind of like role models or mentors, like now or growing up, that you kind of like look up to, whether that's like family, friends, or anyone like professionally?
So my hero, the person I wrote my college essays was Diddy, the rapper. And the reason I
Yeah.
love Diddy was he personified, changing, going from just an entertainer to being a mogul. So he has so many different businesses from Aqua Hydrate to De Leon Tequila to Ciroc Vodka and the clothing lines and all that stuff. And that's really a big person that I look up to in a lot of different ways because they've succeeded in so many different business models. And a lot of it was sheer wherewithal and the ability to stay pivoting, stay creating, and like just keep going after it. And that's what I
Mm.
try and do every day.
That's awesome. And I think it's great to have, role models and mentors, to aspire to and to look up to and, learn things from and draw from as well. And, like pivoting and adapting, like I've met a lot of people recently who've, mentioned that. And, how important that is, to try and be able to pivot and adapt in these challenging times. Because I know some people are losing jobs or they may have to, relearn a new trade. What like advice would you give like around that, being able to kind of pivot and adapt?
To be able to pivot. I think honestly, be patient with yourself. You're going to figure out how you're going to pivot. And then two, give yourself time with that pivot. Don't expect things to change overnight. Don't expect month one or month two to be the big game changer. Expect month
Yeah,
one to be the framework, except month two to start seeing something come in, and month three to start establishing some sort of baseline, something that is
yeah,
livable, but don't expect it to be life changing right away.
yeah,
Give it
yeah,
time. Everything takes time in life.
yeah. That's it. I think people sometimes they can expect things to happen straight away, and I think, like you said, it takes time to build and it's patience, and that's definitely key. And like, would you say there's any favorite books that you've read or anything like that? Any favorite
Um,
books?
I love How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think that is an amazing book. There is a book called what is it called? Robert Greene's The 40 Laws of Power. I think that's an amazing book on like how people work as well.
Yeah,
And just the first book on like business overall, which is The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
yeah,
Uh, and that is the root of most wars. So if you look at business terminology, a lot of time, it's from wars, from military campaigns.
yeah.
So if
It's
you just apply those three books, I think you'll have a good idea of like that. And I think if you do it with like also looking at what is spiritually correct, what is in line with your views, on
mm,
top of what the reality of how most people operate, you can change that cycle and be a better
mm,
person.
mm.
Know the world that
Yeah,
you live in, accept that it is not an ideal world, but be a force of light and kindness and love that can kind of change that perception and make it a little bit kinder for future generations.
mm. Yeah. No, I love that, and I think that book's great. Someone recommended it to me, and I read it. I've got it somewhere. And that's like from the 6th century. That book, The
Yeah,
Art of War. It's insane. And you can apply those kind of like those
proverbs.
lessons, yeah, to life today. Yeah.
Life hasn't changed that much, man. We're still the same sort of species that we've always been in. It's just
Mm,
general guiding principles. And a lot of times, if you can apply it to change that status quo, you
mm,
can make it a little bit better. It's not about like canceling people. It's about what you can do to change the situation. So in America, we've been having a lot of civil unrest due to racial inequality. But what I challenge people to do more than what the government can do is what can you do as an individual to change that situation? I think a
mm,
lot of us work for organizations or can give other people opportunities. And I think just doing what you can at the
mm,
level that you can will systematically change things from the bottom up a lot of times.
mm, mm,
Forget the top down methodology. I don't think that's going to work in a lot of cases. But if we as individuals change what we can to improve the situations for others, we can have a much kinder world. It's much more
mm.
fair, you know?
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think, like you said, doing your part, and by you doing something, and then lead on to something else, and then not looking at it kind of the top down kind of thing, as you mentioned. And I spoke to somebody who wrote a book, during 2020, based from a lot of the things that were happening, in America. And she created a Facebook group, and she's got a following now. And, everyone kind of do their little part. I think that it's the small things that become big things, isn't it? It all kind of adds up.
So everything was a small thing. Massive companies. Lloyd's Bank in England, at one point,
Yeah.
was just an idea. That was just an idea that somebody had. Ford, the motor car company,
Mm,
which is still around, was just this guy's idea. The idea of
mm,
a plane, that was just a random idea.
Mm.
The East India Tea Company, which basically ruled India for England, was somebody's idea. They're like,
Mm.
hey, I think tea could be a very profitable business. And a tea company ruled a nation.
Mm.
That there's some like wild things that can happen from small ideas, both good and bad things.
Mm.
And I think if we do things with the idea of keeping it pure, like how most ideas start in the beginning, to do something good or to change the lives of the people that are involved in a positive way, and then to keep that culture going downward, uh, you have better ideals for companies than
Mm.
what a lot of companies have. And it shouldn't be about the bottom line all the time. It should be about the
Yeah.
people that make a company, because I think it's the people that make any company great.
Mm. No, I love that, and I think it's so true. Like, and that's why there's a lot of companies that I respect, and like you said, like the people that make the company, and that's I think where companies need to like really not forget that and that in relationship that they have with their employees, how they treat their employees, having that empathy for the employees, and it's like they work for you, you kind of like don't work for them kind of thing, it's that like duality.
They're also the base advertisement you have. Because if your mates are out with you having a beer and they say they hate their job and they hate their company, that is going to perceive out to the world. And the opposite is when your friends love the companies they work for. That makes you much more of a brand advocate. So your employees are one of the largest forces of advertisement for your company, because still to this day, regardless of being a social media marketer and having made a beautiful career out of marketing things on social media, the
Mm.
number one way to convert a sale is word of mouth advertising.
Mm.
And those are your
Yeah,
employees,
yeah.
regardless of their job or sales or not. It is what your employees do.
And it's like, the customers, will see the employees and so I've worked in hotels and like it can take one person to go in to the place that you work. And if the employee's having a bad day, they might see that employee and go, oh, well, I'm not going to go to that place because of X, Y, Z. And it's, it all kind of all interlinks, doesn't it? It all kind of comes together.
But yeah, dude, it all links together. It all flows.
Mm.
And it's just accepting that life is a state of flow. And it's just like
Yeah.
not being attached to any specific outcome and just vibing with where life takes you.
Mm. Yeah. No, definitely. I really like that, and I think it's how life should be. It should kind of it is a flow. It's energy. It's an energy exchange. It's a flow. It's how universe works, and I think as well. That comes down to being present. As well, doesn't it? Being in the flow, being present in what you're doing in the moment, like we are now. It's pretty powerful, and I was thinking as well, like because I saw in like your bio, like you also produced a movie as well. Like, what was it like producing, a film? Was you produced is it that film called Daddy, which which
Yep.
one?
So I made a short film called Daddy with Jody Steele. She was one of my first influencer clients. So we did it before to her being an influencer. We had stars from the show Shameless in it. The audio guy did the Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Oh wow,
We
awesome.
did this for less than $3,000, and it won an award of merit at the Los Angeles Film Festival. But more recently, I had a feature film come out with the award-winning director Johnny Hickey. We had a theatrical release in some theaters in America, as well as a release on Amazon Prime. And I think we're going to probably do a deal with the regular Amazon as well as
Yeah,
Netflix,
yeah,
hopefully in the next couple months, to
yeah,
distribute that movie. It's an anti-drug PSA. Johnny Hickey was one of the most notorious drug dealers in America, who has created films that are against drugs. And it was really beautiful to see that one film win about 6 awards across different film festivals, as well as get recognized by huge comedians that I've looked up to my whole life, like Bill Burr, for the artistic merits of that film. And to be a single card producer
yeah,
was such a beautiful experience. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that I built a great relationship with Johnny,
yeah.
and he wanted me to be a part of it. And
Mm.
I think if you just invest in other people, people will give you a shot to go after you want. Because if I never told Johnny that I wanted to produce, he wouldn't have even thought of me. Most people aren't going to think of what you
Yeah.
don't tell people you want to do. So don't be shy about telling your friends or people that you know in your life that are in positions to give you opportunities, because sometimes when people are in the position to help you out, they do.
Mm. Yeah. No, I love that. And I think like, it's like that asking, isn't it? Just asking and
Just
just
ask.
mentioning it. Yeah.
And do it in a polite way. Don't like have that thing that they need to do it for you. Do it in that polite way that you're just putting it out there, and you're not attached to that outcome. You're just attached to, giving it a shot. And like, and it doesn't have to be exactly what you want. It's just getting an opportunity to be involved in some capacity, because even if you're grabbing coffee on the production, you learn stuff. And by learning that stuff, you're able to go up for a little bit better overall the next time.
Mm. Yeah. That's it. It's like you said, those small things of just like starting out, like getting the coffee and, just showing up, just showing up as well. Just showing up and having, those genuine relationships. And I think like, not having expectations, as you mentioned, just being there to, help and to show up.
100%. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
All you can do is
Yeah.
control yourself. It's the only thing you have control of in this life.
Yeah. That's it. And as I think as well, like it's like another question I usually ask is it's like if you could like sit around a table with like three people who are alive, like
Yeah.
who would they be? If you could
Three
like,
people.
if you can't think of three, it's fine.
Okay, I think I could do this. I would say it would be Ryan Blair. I loved his book, Nothing to Lose. He's an amazing entrepreneur, very spiritual, very good belief set. I think Diddy, because that's somebody that I've always admired. I think that would be an interesting person to throw into this mix. And I think
Yeah.
the third person I would have at that table would be Sadhguru. I think Sadhguru has a lot of life figured out, and that man is happy and
Yeah.
he's intoxicated on life while he's sober. So I think
Yeah.
those three people would be amazing to spend some time with.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, he's an incredible guy. I've seen some of his clips and he's on another wavelength. He's incredible in what he does.
He's actualized in a lot of ways that many people are not.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. So and I was just thinking like as well, like what advice would you give to say people who, are wanting to kind of get into the industry that you're in or into like, movies or producing or into business, entrepreneurship, like, what would you like say?
Try,
Yeah.
try and fail every day. Try and fail fast, and accept when things don't work out and pivot and move into something new and like fail again, fail again, and fail again. Because this is not a game about winning. This is a game about how much you can fail. The wins are few and far between, but the failure is consistent. If you cannot deal with the failure and you cannot deal with the rejection, you cannot deal with the isolation that comes with being an entrepreneur, of being an entertainer, being in this industry, you're better off not doing that. Because,
Mm,
and that's okay too. Like, I think right now we glorify being an entrepreneur, we glorify being an entertainer so much so that we negate the fact that most people that go after this dream fail, and including the people that win, they fail a lot along the
mm,
way, and they
mm,
fail again and again and again. But they love that process. And if you're not loving the process, it's okay to go out and get a regular job and do something else and have a happy life. You are not beholden to being that for forever. So I
mm,
think that is the beautiful part of this game we all play called life.
mm. Yeah. No, I really agree with you on that, and I think it's so important, isn't it? To just to keep on going and moving forward. If you want to be in that in that field, or you want to make something, or you want to be an entrepreneur and go into business, to keep on showing up, keep on failing, and just keep on moving forward, and just keep on believing in what you're doing, as you mentioned. And I think like you become a lot stronger, through failures and mistakes. And I think about sometimes, with the podcast, sometimes, I've had a lot of people say no. I had a lot of people not answer or reply to me. And, now it used to be very, very difficult, whereas now it's still difficult sometimes, but, you just keep on going with it, and I think that's really great advice. And I was just thinking, like, as well, like, where could people find you on like social media and website and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I have a everything from Spotify to Instagram and Facebook. I'm most active on Instagram. My handle is Ashwin, ASHWIN JACOB. All of my social links are on my website, ashwinjacob.com, ashwinjacob.com. We're going to be having that course called the Star Study Network coming out at the end of March. So please do check that out if you want to learn how to build star study relationships anywhere in the world with zero budget and zero contact list. And in the next couple of months, we're going to be launching intentioncrystals.co, which I'll be promoting more on my page as the crystals come together. And I really want to, just share positivity with people that are in this world.
Yeah. No, I think you do an amazing job in what you're doing, and I really respect you as a person, and I think you're doing awesome in providing value, and in what you've attained and where you're at, and I think it's just really you know natural and genuine in you as a person and how you are, and you want to help other people succeed as well, and I think that's what it's all about, giving back, and I wish you all the best and continued success in what you're doing.
Dude, I'm wishing that you have a beautiful day, wishing you peace and blessings. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I hope I gave you guys some good tidbits of information. And if any of you guys have any
Yeah.
questions or want to connect, definitely feel free to reach out. If you work with a company or if you have a personal brand that's trying to grow on social media, definitely reach out too. Or if you come to Los Angeles and you want to drive in a beautiful exotic car, I work with a beautiful exotic car rental agency that I have a car in the fleet and getting a couple more in that fleet in the next couple months. So would love to be of service.
Yeah. No, awesome. No, definitely. And I'll definitely share your content and put, your links in the bio so people can find everything that you're doing as well.
Perfect. Perfect.
No,
Perfect. Perfect.
you're welcome.